Okay, thank you. The pleasure to be here is mine, not yours. I feel great that you have me here, right? So let me take that out of the way. Privilege and stuff. Privilege. So it's great to be here, and the reason it's great to be here is that we use this type of opportunities to share a little bit our story, and that story, and the value of that story is that it brings to the forefront user-centered design, something that we believe in and that we run on, and also it gives a couple of insights about the app world, the brutal app world, and about startups. So it's a kind of an interesting story, if I may say. Before I show you anything or tell you anything, when the iPad was announced, we were in the last year of grad school, and we were analyzing stuff from multiple perspectives, right? Mainly from a user-centered design point of view. When they announced the iPad, everybody was laughing. It's an iPod, an iPhone on steroids. iPad, ha ha ha, what a funny name. But we were impressed by how this new way of interacting with the device, the form factor, the affordances, and the perceived affordances were going to change many industries. We realized that from analyzing the product at different levels, and we wanted to be a part of it. We both had interest for education. We love working with children. He had a daughter, and I was planning to have one. So what a better way to get into a business? Can we do this? And that's when we decided to start a company. And the reason we decided to start a company is because we wanted to rethink or improve the tools that are used for education, and wanted to leverage the whole power of the device without forgetting what's working right now. Everybody right now is saying, this is the future, this is what's going to happen, and everybody's teaching what is already there, or undermining it. We've been 3 years learning and reinventing us, and we think that there is a balance between both things, and that's what Peapod Labs strive for. This is an example of one of our apps. We have 4 teams. We are 2. We don't get a lot of sleep. We don't need it though. We get a lot of coffee. So let me show you this app really quickly. If you tap on the top in the ABC, you have a high definition grid pop up in front of you. It's empty. If you have not used it yet. So imagine that you're a child 2 to 6 years old. You tap anywhere on the screen.
Ocelot.
You hear the letter O, and then you see the word ocelot pop up, right? Something obscure, an ocelot. I didn't even know what was an ocelot when I was developing the app, and now I feel like I'm a brainiac. And then from the top, using animation, a snapshot comes down, and then the kid, potentially because of the motion and the location, will tap on it. And when that happens,
Paint the ocelot.
let's paint the ocelot. He swipes over the ocelot, and an interaction happens. And after he completes,
Amazing.
he gets some feedback. So you just tell the kid what's an ocelot, you show him a photo, you show him the word, and he interacts with one. And if he swipes, then another snapshot comes down, but this time's a video, right? And the kid will see an actual video of an ocelot in a zoo. So a concept potentially really hard to convey or explain, just was,
1251
through different type of media. At the same time, for the older kid, you may want to add a fun fact.
Ocelots live in the jungle and hunt at night,
Right?
so they're hard to see in the
So
water.
these read aloud fun facts enable them to get even more information about an ocelot, and they just can't keep going and going.
Oh,
But the
I'm
audience
happy.
is a very broad range, 2 to 6 years old, right? So you can't expect a very young kid to go into the menu, go in and out. So what we did is that in the word, we devised a way for them to navigate the app. So when they tap the word,
P,
the menu for only the P appears on top, and they can push another button
panda.
that has a sort of a highlight to command attention, and then
A,
odds of
ant
them
eater.
getting stuck in this app is very low. At the same time, what we're doing is that we're gathering content from the web, making it safe, for children to browse through and deliver to them. This was the first step we developed. And since it went well, we decided to keep exploring other routes, other ways to make tools. We have also a menu for the parents where they add capitalizations, log the videos, etc., etc. But that's another part of the story. So that's what we do, and these are all the apps. And now I'm going to tell you things that are potentially interesting. Okay? And then you can tell me if you think they were interesting or not at the end, and you can debate if we're wasting your time or not. But for the time being, let me share with you. Do I have to do anything to switch? Switch. Now. It's Siri enabled. Switch now. Okay. Everything is fine. It's called Murphy.
There you go.
Oh, you scared it. That's great. Okay, so everything I just said is here, right? So I'm not going to take your time. This is them. Why do I think that anything that we have to tell you has value? And at the end, this is the reason that we have a business and we can go on with it. There are 84,834 since yesterday applications in education in the App Store. These are our apps, and these are the highest rankings we have achieved in the education category. And then the little stars is what our reviewers think about us, and then it's sort of the awards that we have achieved. We don't have a lot of budget for marketing, so this is probably a lot of organic behavior. So whenever you have sort of a feedback like this, that is not artificial, you are doing something good. And what we believe is user-centered design and running a startup using a process instead of focusing on mainly a product or a technology. Focusing on an overall experience with a goal is what differentiates Peapod Labs as a company. And now I'm going to reveal our secrets. You can copy, go, start your company, and move on. It's as easy as that. When we went to school, we learned this, and it's very simple, and you will find very different ways of saying the same thing. This is how I memorize it, and I don't want to forget about it, so I repeat it all the time. We use these 4 quadrants. This is the make-to-know framework. And the make-to-know framework is really simple. There's stuff that happens in the real world, and then there's stuff that's happening in the abstractions of the real world. In this quadrant is what we know, right? And in this half is what we can make. So basically, the process is in an iterative process where you observe what's happening in the real world, you analyze what happened, and define the needs that you're going to address. Then you define design principles to address those needs that you actually observed here. Then you prototype. And before joining the school, I thought very little about prototyping. And now I am totally in love with prototyping. I think it's the solution for every problem that human has, right? Totally extreme. But then you drop your prototype here and you start the cycle again. What we did is that this is the user-centered design process used for consulting, for addressing really big issues, education, health issues. So what we did is, can we apply this for mobile development, for mobile app development, for such a quick industry? Technology changes, on a daily basis. 6 months, you're obsolete. We have to release an app every month, literally, to stay relevant in a market with 800,000 apps, right? So we pulled the arrow and we decided to make that framework tangible. So we created a plan. Everything that you saw in the real world has an actual artifact that we need to come up with. Either an idea, a prototype, a high resolution prototype, and then a minimum viable product. So in virtual, we don't talk about a finished product. First, there's no finished product. If you have a finished product that is perfect, you wasted too much time making it. And by the way, as soon as you launch it, you will see how far from perfect that is. Because the one that will define if the product is perfect or not is the user, not you or your partner. By the way, while doing divergent brainstorming and then converging into the idea that we think it's perfect, we have become billionaires several times And then when we go and prototype the idea, we become beggars, the other half of the opportunities. Because everything that runs smoothly in your mind, when you put the user in front of it, it flops. And it's not him against me, it's not about convincing you, it's not about how articulate it doesn't work. Can we figure out why? As you can see, I'm a little bit biased about prototyping, so take everything with a lot of salt. And then you make out of the plan a process. Why this is key, right? So if you come from a only design background, so we come from an engineering background, and when we brought in the business and design background into the equation, right? If you only isolate design, everything can be designed and redesigned and made better every time. So if you don't have hard milestones, you will literally take all the time that you can get. And if you are a startup and you are in the mobile market, 1-2 weeks, that's a lot of time for somebody to come over here, because the entry barriers are not. So we spend, so this is new, I'm gonna say something new, you're not gonna get bored. So we were developing this app with a new interaction to do math, and we thought it was fantastic, and we thought it was new and innovative. We launched the app. 3 days later, an exact app from another guy came in. Very, very, very similar. So similar that if you played both of them, you literally thought it was the same developer. 2 weeks, I'm saying, right? It's not, no, 1 year later they came, right? So time is of the essence. So even though everything can get better all the time, you need to commit to a deadline for your minimum viable product. Launch, receive your hits in the face, but here is the beautiful thing about apps in the virtual. My hand is always in the product. If I ship you an IKEA table, and it's horribly designed, then you can return it, it's a pain, lawsuit, etc., etc. If you have a virtual product, and I have to fix it, I will update. In the case of Apple, it's a little bit lengthier process, but either way, there's a fast solution for it. So your testers is your market, not for prototyping, for minimum viable product, slight difference. So when we jumped into the educational market, all the applications that were playing there were only used for the pass-back effect. They were pacified. And by the way, that's huge value. Anybody that has kids, you need those 20 minutes to survive. You really need to go to the bathroom. You need Dora the Explorer jumping around and buy you some time not to just die of thirst, right? So, but we didn't want to be that company. We didn't want to be the cupcake app company. We didn't want to be the flashcard app company. We really wanted to add value. So we went out of our way, and whenever we are trying to add value to something, we have to get out of the digital. So don't get me wrong. We know the competitive landscape by memory. I know the top 200 applications on the iPad for kids. I know every competitor. I know every stat that they have. I know which one is worthwhile and which not. However, when we're trying to bring something new, we step outside there. We step into the real world. Toy store, how do children play, observation, recording, in order to find that need or that place where we think this new device with these completely new affordances can add value. And we decided to hone in into the book. We love books, but we found that these things could be improved potentially, right? And while thinking about I'm not going to call weaknesses, about the characteristics of a book, we thought, well, how do people, if people want to mitigate those weaknesses, what do? They could give a laptop to a child, right? So they give a laptop to a child, they give a laptop to Lisa that wants to learn about animals, so Lisa searches for a leopard. Google, fantastic tool, we love Google, everything happens because of Google. And then she says, Mommy, that's not a leopard, right? And it's true. Well, sort of. There was sort of a leopardish thing about those images, but not the ones you want your child to ask about. And the questions you may find something clever to say, usually happens, but it's not ideal. But then Lisa wants to see an animal in the real world doing real stuff. So she jumps into YouTube. Friend or foe? And when you go into YouTube, this is what happens. So, and by the way, people laugh and say like, haha, you doctor that's like, no, I didn't, I left the titles, right? So if you read the titles, you know that I did. I had to erase one title. So when Lisa gets to see a zebra in YouTube, well, then that is the most expensive experience you will have because of the years of psychiatrists. For you first, trying to deal with the questions about the zebra, and for her, if she actually understands what happened. And when we realized that that was happening, we said, no, something is wrong. How is it possible that there is tons of fantastic content on the web that we could use to teach children about the world around them, but it's so dangerous to get there? And that's kind of the premise for the ABC series. That app was born out of a brainstorming session to address exactly this finding. The content is out there, is Creative Commons, is fully accessible. Kids that they can use it in their favor and take the most out of it can get to it. So on the top, there is a tiny diagram that I think is worthless now that I am seeing it, but it kind of shows you where we are in that framework. So we were in the first quadrant, and that's where we found that insight after analyzing, and then this is where we are actually doing the whole design principles, figuring out the analysis and what needs to happen and why does it need to happen, right? And then you prototype. I'm going to make a hard break, and I hate to do this, but the reason I'm going to make this hard break is because the prototyping session with the ABC series was smooth. We found that need. We developed a couple of prototypes, different concepts. We tested them. There, kids liked it. Kids played with it. Parents liked it. So there was not much surprise on the output. But I want to explain the value of prototyping, which is if you, after you leave here, only take one thing with you. Whatever idea you have, for brilliant it is, prototyping. And prototyping, it doesn't need to be fancy. It can be very low resolution, low fidelity. So June and I were going to be millionaires because we thought about a game you could play, a drawing game in the iPad. We discussed the game, we played the game, and said, billionaires at such a young age. I'm not that young. I look young, no hair. So we went and we designed these prototypes, and we designed several elements of a prototype. We did paper prototyping, and we did digital prototyping. And we went to a school, and in the school we had 3 tables. Each of us, had a set of prototypes there, and we started testing the idea. And we had a blast. Kids were having fun, drawing around, etc., etc. When we get back to the office, we posted everything we had collected from the prototyping session, and we started to analyze what had happened. Well, that analysis was really enlightening. From all this board with all those nice stickers and some nice drawings, based on the children account, the best product, the best drawing was this one. The tornado hurricane. I'm not joking, right? Everything that I say, it seems to be like it was crafted. No, it happens like that. So you give a kid the activity, and they would grab the pen or the marker, they would stab it in the paper iPad and spin it. Tornado. And then the friend comes, hurricane. The whole principle of the game was that every period of time, each kid started completing a drawing on each side of the iPad, and after a timer ends, it spins, so the friends complete each other's drawing, right? And then that keeps going until you have a beautiful piece of art made by 2 kids collaborating together. Well, that didn't happen. And not only that, when we asked the kids, do you want to keep playing like this, or do you want to stop switching? Stop switching, right? Because there were these tiny artists spending tons of time in detail, and then the tornado hurricanes came to destroy it. And at the end, the climax of the experience was, what do you want to do now? Stickers! And stickers all over the drawings. So we realized that we were going to spend a couple of $100,000 developing an app for an activity that would never surpass the excitement that a paper-based activity would, and that probably parents wouldn't be too excited of allowing kids to stick stickers into the touch screen. And we decided to not be millionaires that time. And we saved probably the company at that point in time and a couple of $100,000. And that's because the prototype. Probably before we would have like, no, this has to work. So you invest the money, you develop the app, you launch the app, and then the App Store takes care of it, right? So we went into a minimum viable product development, but this is the interesting thing. The touch devices. So with computers, you have the advantage of different layers of abstraction taking place. So you move the mouse, something happened in the screen, you use the keyboard. So you were open for things not to be completely intuitive or straightforward. For touch-enabled devices, right? A natural human language interface. What you see is what you get. What you touch and what doesn't touch, the affordances and perceived affordances is what tell you what to do. So in order to make those apps as simple to use and intentionally design them to be able to be used by anybody, there is a lot of stuff happening behind. Not only that, there is a bunch of problems we have to solve because we are using content that it was not ours. That makes it unstable, potentially run into copyright issues, potentially get complaints for parents with different levels of sensibility. So if you have to develop an app, submit it to Apple, take between 6 and 12 days to get it approved, and launch it again, and then you start getting complaints about any of the content you have or the content is removed, what do? You're trapped in an updating cycle that will kill you. So we developed this whole cloud-based infrastructure in order to manage the content in real time. So one day we got a call from a company, hey, I see that you're using our videos in your app. Yeah, we're linking to YouTube using the API license rules. So we are doing it. No, you're using illegal videos. Okay, what do you want to do? So you have to license them from us. Okay, $400 per 10 seconds of videos. So give me 1 second. Okay, your videos are not there anymore. Right? Potential, legal. We don't want to deal with it. And at the same time, for the end user doesn't know what's happening behind. For them, it's tap, swipe, pop, that's it. She's the nature of this new device. We developed a minimum viable product, we launched the minimum viable product, it went well, we decided to keep doing what we do. It has gone well so far. And then we learned that what keeps you alive is that you have a direct pulse over your audience. Again, I sell you a table, you take the table to your house, I never know what you use the table for. You potentially made a ping pong table, you made a poker table, you broke the table, your kids paint the table, I don't know. Here, we know everything. And we have different ways to know everything, right? Anonymous data, but also reviewers' feedback, and also trouble ticketing, right? So you keep using all that to make the products better where it matters. If nobody has asked for a feature, right? Two possible things. Either they don't know it exists and how they would add a value, and then you're innovating, or they really don't care about it. So don't spend your force there. And then we started to diversify. So we had this exploration type of application, showing content, and then we decided to explore what is the impact of these devices for curriculum-based education. And we started working with educators, and this is kind of where we are today. So we created this 2x2, sort of to understand where we are in relation to two important factors we found out. Interaction. So whenever you're working with this, you're expecting high interaction. So you potentially can develop an app that is a PDF and you swipe pages, sort of a letdown, right? Because your expectations are already, you are primed to touch, tap, hear, move. So we try to stay away from low interactions. However, you have to manage interactions wisely because our goal is to actually educate. And if it's like 100% Angry Birds and Fruit Ninja and all those apps at a time, then okay, you're teaching physics to kids. Really, are you? Maybe. I haven't done the test, but potentially the kid is slingshotting bird without understanding the parallel trajectory that things happen because of gravity. So we want to be careful of the way we use it. So this is our sort of mid interaction, and then entertainment and education. We are exploring this realm as well, curriculum-based applications, leveraging metrics and feedback to parents. And then we spend, so this is one of the cases where we did a prototype that it's our most expensive prototype, right? And we actually think we took it one step farther than we should. So we developed this whole backend for our apps. All our apps are connected. So when you subscribe to our app, you create your child profile. We create your child account. It's synchronized. All our apps are universal, so you're synchronized among all the devices. And we collect data. And then that data we use to sort of create a report and send it to parents. And then our goal early on was, if we know and understand your kids' likes, don't like, strengths, and weaknesses, we tell you what they are. And then we can use that to tell you physical work activities to help them improve. And they play again, and then we can measure that improvement, and you can keep doing that cycle. We just perfected the learning loop, right? So we solved a major problem for the world. And we asked parents, surveys, what they thought about, and they all loved it. They want all the features now, today, all the reports every weekend. And we were excited, right? That's $1 million idea. So we started developing this backend, collecting the data, trying to crunch that data the best we could, sending those reports. What they say and what they do is totally different. When you see the analytics of the open rates and the click-through of those reports, well, that if you saw those analytics and I tell you that those guys asked for the feature, you would understand that, or you wouldn't be able to tell if they were the same people. So, and then we understood that, especially in education, you have several issues as a market. One of them is the one that buys the app is different from the one that uses the app. So the app has, the parent has to like the app or approve it, but the kid has to like or engage it. But even more, parents would like aspirationally to behave in a certain way, but when you come home from the office destroyed, the last thing you want to do is read the math report that tells you that your kid potentially needs help with the number 5 in addition, and then do some activities with them. You would like to, and you will answer you would like to, but when it's time to actually do stuff, you'll probably launch Angry Birds or play Netflix, right? Because you're too tired. I mean, kids are tough. So when we find that out, we spend 1 year doing this, huh? That's expensive. But when we realized that this was a trend, and by the way, when we did this, we never accounted for the amount of work that takes to meaningfully crunch the data we were gathering. So at some point in time, we wanted to actually make relevant recommendation to parents. You need a whole different company to do that. We were far too busy to develop, our degree in statistician in order to make it meaningful. So we decided to stop the reports, but we didn't desist from creating shared experience between parents and kids, because we believe that learning happens in the physical world through shared experience, and that's a tool, that's an extension. You can use that to improve, but you cannot forget the physical world. So we started to do something different. Those same parents, we started sending them stuff that they could do on their own. Arts and crafts, coloring books related to teaching tools for free. So the response for this is excellent. So they were willing to do stuff, but it's not what they had to do, it's what it's appropriate for them. And that's why we generated inside the Peapod Labs this whole activities setup for parents to jump in and be a part of the learning process on their own will, and not by pressuring them to run the asses. So that's kind of where we are right now. We're trying to figure out, we still collect a lot of data, we still understand what's sort of happening with our users, what are they using, why are they using it, what are they tapping, what's working for them. We de-emphasize a lot the focus of our company in actually pushing the tools to become a complement for real world, and then help kids go back to real world through the arts and craft activities and tying that back to the digital activities. And basically open any opportunity we find by improving existing tools or making new ones. It's all about reframing the stuff that we know exists and it's being used and take advantage of all the features that these devices offer. It ended like in a sad note, right? It was like, yeah. That's kind of what I had to say. Ask, comments, everything. Let's act like you can give feedback and it's anonymous. I will do this and you say, like, no, you suck. It doesn't make sense. That's a dumb company. Ask anything you want. I'll try to answer anything I want.
So I have a question. So you have analytics going on, so you can tell what kids are actually doing with your apps.
We have two sets of analytics.
What do kids do the most on your apps?
In which apps?
The one you showed us.
So,
Like, is there a favorite animal?
yes, there are favorite animals for sure. There are favorite videos. Using analytics, that's a great question. So, the open-ended activity, the open-ended applications like the ABC series, ABC Music, Play, Animal, blah blah blah. They have an internet. So now you will see. Since I created an account, I created these 3 profiles. So when these kids play, we collect their data. You have to agree to the terms and conditions, and we are COPPA compliant. We never talk to kids. We only deal with parents. No ads, no pop-up stuff, no buy me that, no. This is kind of clean. We're playing by the rules, and that makes it hard. But we think it's the right way to go for the market that we chose. So in the case of the ABCs, you see the top row that has a star. So the minimum viable product that we developed for this application, that did not exist. And by the way, this index was not a visual index. It was only A, B, C, D, E, and when you tap, you go into a random animal. We realize kids don't like randomness that much. Kids like to play the same thing over and over and over and over again. For you and me, it would be the most boring thing ever. I mean, yeah, it's a cute video of a little dog barking. True. How many times I'm going to see it? I already memorized it though, right? The kid will go into the app, tap the dog, ha ha ha, dog, play it. Ha ha ha, dog, play it. Ha ha ha, dog. So we decided that the videos that kids watch the most appear on the top as their favorite, based on playtime. However, at the moment we implemented that, we messed up the statistic that said which videos are watched the most, because we make it even easier to push favorites to the top. So before, when we saw that the video of the bear, by the way, total success, was successful, the kid had to actually go and find the bear and use the bear. But then, when we boosted that video by putting it in the first, that statistic, it gets affected because now it's easier to get to the bear and you're going to go to... But potentially what we were trying to understand is the likes and dislikes. Which videos were successful, which not, which animals were successful, which not, and kind of use that in order to suggest, you know what? Your kid, because that's on this side, but on the curriculum-based side, they say boxing math, right? Same network, right? Same account, same kids, same profiles, totally different app, curriculum-based. So,
Let's play.
Boxy is our blue hamster, and he lives in a cage on top of a grocery store, right? And then what he does is, as a parent, you set the curriculum, enable and disable topics, and then you watch the performance of your kid. Not A, B, C, we don't like grades. We like rights and wrongs and topics in order to find patterns. Oh, he's not understanding the number 5 in numbers, or he's having issues with the number 5 in counting. So giving context, potentially the parent can understand what's happening. So the Boxy goes into the grocery store.
How many are there?
How many are there?
Yeah.
Pretty good.
There are 12.
So you can change.
Excellent.
You can change the number of questions,
Find the missing
cycle, the game
number.
loop, and then the actual level of difficulty changes automatically based on the kid's answer, right?
Yeah. 2 and 1 make 3.
Right. So when we
Yes.
develop curriculum-based app, we do this with a consultant
4
from.
plus 1 equals.
We realize that sometimes it's better to give more than take, so we want them to understand what they're doing, so they could potentially tap.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, right. But usually they get to it.
Yeah. 4 plus 1 equals 5.
So after he finishes
job.
shopping, grocery shopping, he goes
Let's
to
get
the
something
restaurant,
nice.
and then you get one toy. And when you get one or one food, right? He gets the food, he goes back to the fridge. And he can play with the food, right? Right? So kids would like to do that several times. So that's an incentive for them to keep playing, right? And we hide stuff in order to make it fun. And by the way, what that happens in order to prompt you to play the educational games and not stay in the fridge forever. But the reason I'm saying that this is still related to her question 1 month later, right? Is because if I know that your kid likes certain animals and I know that your kid needs to improve in certain curriculum area, I could use that animal to entice you to learn about that curriculum area. So you will use the bear to teach math. Pretty far-fetched, right? Well, we didn't manage to pull that through. But that was the idea of lights, non-lights, and then strengths and weaknesses in curriculum. If you don't subscribe to the network, all the statistics we use are anonymous. So we still know everything that happens in the app, but we can tie that back to anyone. So we have the average.
Do you notice any difference in the iPad mini versus the full size with children and how they respond to it or usage or statistics?
You may. Any difference between the iPad?
Oh, so we have an iPad mini in my house, iPad mini and big iPad 1. But she prepared that bigger screen definitely. But yeah, because there's no big difference because the resolution is the same, and then tiny hands doesn't make some differences.
So the only thing that we have to do is that anything that we develop is universal. So iPad mini, iPad or iPhone 5, you buy the app and it works everywhere. Bad business decision, good from a user point of view, but we haven't had to make the decision of, should we develop for the iPad mini? However, we're planning to move into Android sooner or later, and then the fragmentation there is kind of crazy. So potentially you would say, no, you know what, these devices are not going to be used for kids. Is there a way to not enable the apps for that and not compromise the user interaction, right? But not formally.
There is only one thing is difference iPad and iPad Retina. We are not supporting that is the high resolution images because that kind of slow down the speed. But yeah, but iPad and iPad mini is the same resolution, so it's okay.
Question about pricing.
Yes.
So, I figure it's a tough question because of the different models you could use, and also that the parents are the ones who are theory with the credit card who are actually buying this, but they're not using the product. So, how did you guys come up with your pricing, and how do you evolve that over time?
Every time we talk about pricing, I want to cry a little bit. It's a rural market. We are so Apple divides pricing in tiers, right? Tier 1, free. Tier 1, 99 cents. Tier 2, $199. Tier 3, $299 for. So early on, we knew we don't do free. That's the first thing we knew. The reason we don't do free is that the model of free works really well when you have in-app purchase. In-app purchase is a mine, a gold mine for gaming. For education, it's a tougher thing to pull. So if you're going to develop an app that a parent uses and you sell the parent features that he could use to improve the interaction, so you're selling to the parent, yeah, you can enable in-app purchase. However, we are not clear of the size of that market. Even though certain specific tools for teachers are making good money. Gaming, Clash of Clans, right? Every time you think, is anybody making money on the App Store right now, think Clash of Clans. All the millions of dollars. Why? Because you buy coins every day to build tiny, 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 virtual, irrelevant stuff. Good game. So, in-app purchase free, we don't do free. We don't do strong cross promotion. We don't want the kid. So if you download a free app, you'll see that the kid is playing and taps, and then it goes to the App Store. You don't think that's right too, either. So we started, okay, if we're going to price, how expensive are we going to be? How do we define that? Price sensitivity between iPhone and iPad completely different. We price our app at $2.99. We think that the amount of work and the value we provide is enough to differentiate in terms of pricing and for the quality we deliver. We figured out that, by the way, by test, the only way to figure this out is testing. When we lower, because our apps are universal, when we lower the price of the apps, they sold more on the iPhone and less on the iPad. When we increase the price, they sold more on the iPad and less on the iPhone. And then it was a flush. 99 cents, it was a lose case scenario for us. So we decided to stay with the $2.99. We think that the real way to deal with pricing and services is actually having recurring revenues. Somehow create a subscription-based services like the Amazon is offering right now, where you have a bundle, a portfolio of apps, a feature of apps, and then you earn 99 cents per month. Please, ask one of our 100,000 users to give us $1 a month. They say they love us. Show it, right? But that's not enabled right now. Until that's enabled, straight pricing, upfront, full access, $2.99 per app. And the other thing is that the reason that we keep that pricing is because we keep the apps relevant all the time. So you potentially have an app that has not been updated since, I don't know when. Every year we update the apps with new features. So we're going to release an app next week, upload for approval, and we're bringing a feature that was asked from us since day one. People want to learn Spanish using this app. Make it, and they think that it's like, oh, you want to make Spanish. So they think, I tell the computer, now teach Spanish, right? But how do you design that in order not to mess the interaction? So we spent quite a while figuring out, from an interaction point of view, how do you add that layer? How do you enable, disable that one? So we are going to test that. Then, if that works, because we'll know if it works, everything gets Spanish. So 299.
So you mentioned that you had a low marketing budget, and then you also mentioned, these test pilot groups, and then you also mentioned kind of this evidence of heavy word of mouth kind of marketing. How did you, I'm curious, get your initial buy-in? How did people initially catch wind of it from your pilot groups?
So let me rephrase. You said that I say that we had low marketing budget, and then that we have testing groups, and then heavy word of mouth. Well, we had non-marketing budget, and we're still low on marketing budget, and then word of mouth. There's a clear answer for that. So let me answer the question. We started from scratch, and everything we do, we invented ourselves. By the way, every time we went, because we are at the Institute of Design, we talk to professors, how should I market the app, and they go with these traditional methods of marketing your app. No, buy Google Ads, no, sponsor events, no. The product is $2.99. What event do you want me to sponsor in Chicago for how many people and what I'm going to get back? So traditional market doesn't fit the bill for this. What we did since the beginning is be very aggressive in terms of review. So we are a company focused on our products. We spend inordinate amount of time in detail, making intentional. And then we go after reviewers.
Reviewers?
Reviewers. So bloggers,
Okay.
reviewers, Wired Magazine, Macworld, and then when you do that, you expose yourself to, if you have a crappy product, you're dead. because that will propagate really fast. If you had a good product, you're in the run, in the race. So early on, spend tons of time, send it to reviewers, it got picked up, they liked it, we start winning stuff and awards, and that got the ball rolling. So that's the marketing we do. From virality, so again, problem with the industry or the market we are dealing with is that the parent buys the app and it gives the app to the kid. There's no virality. There's no twin short messaging that he achieved 3,000 gold points in Visual. Play it and challenge your friend. There's nothing like that. There's no forward this to your little friend of 3 years old. There's no post your math score in Instagram to your following list, right? Your following list is like less than 18 months old. So we lose that steam. It's very hard to actually make something viral. It can happen though. It can happen. There are examples. We're trying to copy best practices in order to understand them and implement them. But then that takes a lot of budget. If you're gonna artificially do it. So your question basically what makes me answer you is that we are still trying to figure all those things out, and the pricing too. So that's kind of where we are there.
I have two questions. First of all, thank you for the educational talk and inspirational talk. The first question is, since you are a very young company, maybe you can give us some insight in what the best things you did, like the very decisions that turned into good things for the company, and what you would do different, what you know.
I hate that question. so I understand what you did. You applied the sandwich theory. Thank you for coming. Thank you. And I'm like, oh, but now I have to answer because you were charming. So, okay, so what we did well. I think we did well by not going into a hype trap. So when we realized that we were able to develop apps that were mildly successful, we were not running around saying, no, we are the next fantastic thing in the world. Let's raise capital. Give me $10 million because we're going to revolutionize education. And partly that happened because we are all about prototyping, testing, and understanding what's happening. And the truth is that when we developed this app, we understood something would happen, we didn't understand what. And by the way, the market was so early, there was no market. The total value, we were able, so we did another interesting thing, good decision. We crawled the web and grabbed all the data from all the competitors in education in terms of ranking, because we have apps that have been up and down. We were able to translate that into downloads. We applied the price, and we know the size of the industry. So if the size of the industry at that time was X, and we were going to ask for $6 million, which was a third of the size of the industry, we were like, yeah, we don't think that's very wise. And not only that, we started thinking the competitors running into that sort of strategy. And in several discussions, I told June, these guys are going to die. And they died, right? I feel sort of like a prophet. But we had the information to predict that. So we were calm, and we were trying to really understand what this meant. Our goal was not, don't get me wrong, I would love to have an Angry Bird, and I would love to have this meeting in the Trump. Nothing against capitalism and money. Love it. Very useful. But that was not the goal of Peapod Labs, not faster. We didn't go into education to go the fast track into the money source. So that we did well. The other thing we did well is that tight group, small group, multidisciplinary group, very, very focused and doing everything aligned. So right now, I think about something and you know what's happening because we have worked all the time together making things happen. So agreement, compatibility, and common vision, and being complementary has worked a lot. What I would have done different, that's also a great question because things haven't gone the wrong way or we haven't succeeded. So potentially I don't have a right answer, not a right answer, an answer that I feel convinced of. One of the things that we do lack, and the reason is that we didn't want to spend money at that time, is a marketing presence, a sort of a more aggressive way to address strategic partnerships or schools, because we are focused on product. We like what we do. That's dangerous because you could look complacent. You could stay dormant, and then you're beaten to a punch. Nevertheless, we keep tabs on everybody in the app, so we know what's happening, who raised money, what are they doing, what are the products, what is the strategy, and we potentially would decide to go after the marketing or investment or mortgage if we see a clear directive. But the fact that we are a little bit more conservative, maybe that's what I would have had changed. It's hard for me to, I promise I'll study and someday I'll come back with a good answer.
So can I ask my second question right away? It's about user testing. Do you test specific things about your apps, like the voice or the layout? Do you do A/B testing, for instance? When I heard the voice, it didn't really catch me, but I'm not the audience for the app.
Yeah.
But do you test if kids, for instance, really like the voice, or you should use another one?
Yeah, great question. We think about prototyping and testing in sort of a two-dimensional way. I'm not gonna, can I draw over this? So think about this axis, right? And you're gonna hate the terms, but those are the terms. Resolution and fidelity. Resolution is look and feel, detail, where is everything located, how does it look, all the aesthetic details. Fidelity is functionality, how does it work, what happens when this happens, etc., etc. So what you do in prototyping, the way we do it, is that you move across these axes, right? You find a certain fidelity that you're testing, and you find a certain resolution, and you test, and you test, and you test. It's important to maintain a balance, because if you do a lot of resolution or a lot of fidelity, then you're gonna get the attention on the stuff that you don't wanna know. What do we test? 4 elements: aesthetics, technology, mechanics, and story. Those are the 4 elements that we use. So when we're testing aesthetics or mechanics, you make prototypes at different levels of resolution and fidelity in order to get your audience to give you feedback about that. So if I want feedback about the voice, I would probably not put shiny buttons and a lot of interactions or animation. I will streamline it to, well, do you like this voice or not? However, to answer your question again, wow, 1 hour to answer every question. No, we did not test the voice because you have 12 weeks to produce an app. Do you want to invest how long in order to figure out if the voice is perfect or is good enough? Voice, right now, we got for good enough. Not only that, the spoken fun facts are a feature requested by the users. We didn't have that. That's cost, production, blah, blah, blah. But then they requested it. At the beginning, the voice were ours and people from school. So at the moment that we start hiring voiceover talent, which is the only thing that we hire, we picked the voice that was according to the audience.
Give you one more question.
One more? I can stay, I like them.
I have a question about the licensing as far as the images and the content of the app itself. How much were you all challenged to actually have to come up with the content and the videos yourself versus going out and having licensing and have to pay someone for using those?
Little Explorers, ABC,
Everything we have
Zoo
here is Creative Commons. You don't pay a dime.
Okay.
What you do, if you want to play by the rules, many people don't, is that you do attribution.
A and
So
Eater.
if you have a photo and you tap on the photo, you can see the big photo, right? You have a button here. When you tap the image, we attribute the source and we give you the link to that source. Those are the rules for Creative Commons. We only use Creative Commons that allow use for commercial purposes, derivative work, and attribution. And all the videos are according to YouTube license. So we don't put ads on our thing for you. We don't take advantage of it. We just access filter YouTube API. At some point in time, we wanted to go after licensing. There's no way with the size of the market that you could pay somebody geographic $400 per 10 seconds.
But there's an ABC Juborn is like a licensing, we license it.
Yeah, partnership though.
Yeah, partnership.
All right, well, thank you so much. Let's